Chapter 124, Breaking the Seal. Doing good without hoping for rewards wasn't the least bit in line with Ling Han's personality. Since they wanted him to open up the light of God, then how could he not take advantage of this chance to get some benefits of his own? Putting it in a different way, asking an ultimate warrior of Heaven tier to do something for them while offering this little bit of payment, it was already nice of him to agree. "Let's go. We can't have them wait too long. It would be impolite," he said. The two girls instantly rolled their eyes at him. The truth of the matter was that he had spent the whole day and night concocting alchemical medicines rather than doing any kind of preparations. He was obviously the one to have them wait pointlessly for a whole day, and he actually dared to say that. He really was shameless. The three of them left their tent. Those old monsters of spiritual pedestal tier had all waited for a long time, but old monsters would be old monsters. There was absolutely no hint of impatience on their faces. On the other hand, they were actually all smiles. All of them are really old foxes, scheming, astute, and wily. Ling Han mocked in his thoughts as he opened his mouth and said, I've caused all you seniors to wait for too long. Many apologies." "Young friend, you've worked hard," those old monsters of spiritual pedestal tier all said with a smile. "Then let's set out." Ling Han quickly went into the main topic. He had already gotten the benefits he wanted, and he too wanted to quickly reach the source of the underground river to see what had actually happened there. All of the old monsters were a bit surprised, for Ling Han was behaving much too calmly. They were all in spiritual pedestal tier and were the strongest people in the whole Rain Country. Should any one of them simply stomp their foot, they could easily cause the mountains and rivers to change. And now they were all gathered in one place. Yet Ling Han did not even blink at their presence. How could they not be curious about the reason behind his calmness? Yet they did not know something compared to Ling Han's power in his last life. What could mere spiritual pedestal tier count as? Pay? They wouldn't even be qualified to guard his door. The group once again returned to the spot they had stopped at before, and the light of God was once again right in front of them. Ling Han began to arrange the ingredients. One after another, the ingredients were smoothly arranged by his hands, becoming a blur in the eyes of the others. Yet there was a beauty in his movements that caused the others to uncontrollably become engrossed in watching him. "Yi, I actually seem to feel a kind of rhythmic beauty from this brat's movements." "So you also feel that way?" "This brat is really quite strange, as if every move he makes corresponds with the Tao of nature. How could there be such a person?" "Could it be? It is written in the ancient records that there is a kind of person that is born suited to Tao. For such a person, comprehending the secrets of martial arts is as easy as drinking water." "Natural martial body." The eyes of all the old monsters lit up. If Ling Han was really a natural martial body, then he was definitely a valuable treasure. As long as one observed his movements every single day, they'd be able to very quickly gain comprehension of martial arts. Ling Han could absolutely be considered as a living spiritual treasure of martial arts. This brat has gotten the acknowledgement of Wu Song Lin, so they couldn't really kidnap him by force. But what about marriage? As long as they managed to get him to marry into their clan, then it would be perfectly legitimate for him to stay in their clan residence, and even Wu Song Lin would be unable to say anything against that. Ling Han had completely no idea that he had become something that everyone would be fighting over in that instant. He had his full concentration on the ingredients in his hands, and as he flung out one after another, he actually opened up a hole in the light of God, creating an opening that could allow a single person to pass through. He really succeeded. The old monsters were all struck dumb with shock. They had all made their own attempts these few days, but the might of the light of God was not something they could overcome. All they could do was simply stare at it blankly. They had never thought that Ling Han would actually succeed. This naturally increased their desires to have him marry into their clans. One of the old monsters was an impatient character and was about to immediately pass through the opening. Yet Ling Han stretched out an arm to stop him from going ahead and said, "Wait! Brat! What are you trying to do?" This old monster was a powerful warrior of spiritual pedestal tier of the Qian clan of the 8 great clans. He had an impatient nature and was also bad-tempered. He immediately glared at Ling Han, and a strong pressure immediately emanated from him. Ling Han smiled calmly, withdrew his arm and said, "If you want to die, I won't stop you. Please go right ahead." Hearing Ling Han's words, the old monster from the Qian clan did not dare to make any reckless moves and asked, "Isn't the restriction already broken?" This can only be claimed to be a minor success. The current opening can allow an ordinary person to enter, but body refining tier would experience rejection from the restriction. The stronger your ability, the more powerful the rejection you would feel. If you try to force your way through, that would be equivalent to seeking your own death, Ling Han said. So that was it. Stupid brat. Why didn't you speak early of such a big issue? You almost killed me. The old monster from the Qian clan said sheepishly, obviously a bit embarrassed. Ling Han smiled and said, "Do you not see that I have many ingredients that I haven't used yet? Wouldn't this be embezzlement on my part?" The old monsters all laughed loudly while Lu Yutong and Li Xichan kept mocking in their thoughts. This guy was so outrageously bold, he had already embezzled a lot. Ling Han continued to move and threw out various ingredients, allowing the opening to become firmer and sturdier. Now body refining tier should be able to enter. Now element gathering tier should be able to as well. Gushing spring tier. Ling Han suddenly came to a stop. Because the ingredients had all been used up, he gave a sigh and said, "My ability is limited, so I can only create an opening that would allow only gushing spring tier martial artists to enter at most." The others all stared blankly. The strongest martial artists that could enter was gushing spring tier. Was this deliberate? That's right. This was something that Ling Han had done deliberately. Originally, he had intended to have this opening limited to allowing only element gathering tier to enter, but he thought that this would be too obvious, so he decided to raise the entry level to the next tier. But on the other hand, Rain Country had limited resources on hand, so even if he had not had his own intentions, the opening that he could create would at most only allow spiritual ocean tier martial artists to enter. "Only gushing spring tier!" The old monsters all frowned. "What about this? Let us immediately send a message back to the Imperial City and have the gushing spring tier martial artists of our clans all come over immediately," someone suggested. Behind this opening possibly lay hidden a great secret treasure. Who would not want to get their hands on this treasure? These few days, we'll seal off this place first and allow no one to pass through, Li Zhangye said. "We should do that." All of them were worried that someone else would enter first and snatch away some fated opportunity that could be hidden behind the opening, so they all agreed to first seal off this place and wait for the various geniuses of Gushing Spring tier of their respective clans to arrive, after which all of them would enter at the same time. "Little fellow, you have no objection, right?" Li Zhangye said with a cunning smile. "Of course not," Ling Han said with a smile. "However, you all would need to make the most of your time. This opening can at most be maintained for 10 days only." "Damn!" The old monsters all rolled their eyes at this. "Then, why didn't you say this sooner?" That way they'd have been able to gather the geniuses of their clans early on to come over. But now everything was in a rush, so they weren't sure how many they could actually gather. All of them once again left, and naturally, one after another, messenger birds flew off, sending the message back to the Imperial City. Ling Han sat in his tent, quietly cultivating. He had practically robbed the 8 great clans and the Imperial family in one go this time, and had managed to concoct various valuable alchemical pills, which would be enough for him to enjoy quite a while without worrying about money. "Robbery is really fun!" he thought as he swallowed an alchemical pill. 4 days passed very quickly, and continuously there would be arrivals of various young men and women. These were all the younger generation of the 8 great clans in the Imperial family. They were either gushing spring tier or, at the very least, element gathering tier. Obviously, the old monsters suspected that there lay a secret treasure behind the restriction, and hoped that the youths of their own clans would be able to get this secret treasure. Thus, they naturally sent as many people as they could. On the seventh day, there were about 200 people of the younger generation of the various clans that had made it there. The old monsters also felt that they could no longer delay it, because there was only 3 days' time left for them. "Set out!"